Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome to Unity of Madison. We're so grateful to be here. I'm Reverend Marypatriece Wendt. Of course, this is...
I'm Reverend Tom. It's so good to be here. Where else would you hear Yellow Submarine? Come on, Unity. I love it. Thank you.
Wow, I heard some things this morning shared, words like anxiety and spooky and things like that. It is Halloween, right? Is that why they plan elections around this time of the year? I don't know, but the truth is, scary moments can happen at any time. We can be experiencing them on a personal level, on a national level, on a community level, in families and things. And wow, so when we prepared for today, we thought, okay, why? What can we bring today? What tools or ideas can we bring today? So our talk title today is, Why Unity? There are things that are concerning that are happening in life. Why unity? I watched a TED talk recently by Wendt, and his TED talk was called Why We All Need to Practice Emotional First Aid. Maybe in those times where you're feeling that fear or that spookiness or the concern. He's a twin. He's an identical twin who did not grow up in the United States. But he learned from a very early age to spot special things that were happening, like favoritism. Maybe his brother got an extra good job or a better cookie that had less crumbles to it. Maybe he had to work a little bit longer at his chores and his brother was given time off. He was very aware of how this was different. Like even in society, sometimes we might feel certain groups of people are favored a little bit more than others, right? So as he grew older, he decided to become a psychologist. He regularly in his practice spied favoritism all around him in society, in his family, and in the world. And he realized that oftentimes we value our body over our mind. We play favorites, that our body is more important than our mind. And one example of this was when someone would ask him, what do you do for a living? And he would say, I'm a psychologist. I'm a doctor. And they'd say, oh, you're not really a doctor. In other words, he was masquerading as a real doctor. His 9 years of education didn't seem to matter to someone like that. And by the way, his brother, who, sometimes appeared to be favored more than he was, is also a psychologist, so he's not a real doctor either. We have a paradigm that our bodies are more important than our minds. We know how to take care of our physical bodies when we become hurt. From the time we're 5 years old, you get a scrape, what do? You go and you get a Band-Aid. You wash it off, you cover it up, make sure it's ready to go to heal up properly. But what do we do to maintain our psychological health? What are we doing now when we're feeling anxious? I love the opportunity to gather together and just hold space. What a great tool. Do we think to use it regularly? It can be pretty scary how sometimes we forget to take care of our minds when it is hurt. And what do we teach our children about emotional hygiene? Are we training them as well with tools and ideas that will serve them as they're growing older? Research has discovered that we sustain emotional injuries much more often than physical ones. Through feelings of failure and rejection and loneliness, maybe feeling ostracized in the way things operate societally. And when we ignore those feelings, there's like this little thief in our lives stealing away special moments, quality moments that we haven't lived fully into because we are still working with that injury inside. And it impacts us in dramatic ways that may last for a lifetime. There are scientifically proven, research and spiritually proven techniques to take care of, to treat these emotions, to treat these injuries, to help us move forward, to feel more complete. But sometimes we don't even think to use them. The story about Guy and his brother, they were incredibly close growing up. They were so close that they spent all their free time together doing activities and going places. But when Guy decided to go for his doctorate degree, he came over here to the United States, and it was the very first year that they had ever spent apart. It was big. And as they were getting ready for the day, they would always plan to at least have 5 minutes a week. This is before we had cell phones, when you really paid for those long distance phone calls. They could afford about 5 minutes a week to chat together, to stay connected. But their birthday was coming up, and so they planned 10 minutes. And when the day came, he knew, all his family is over at home, and here he's in a new country. He doesn't know a lot of people. He's still getting used to the community and the work that he's doing and what he's learning. And so he's excited for this day. He cleared his whole schedule just to wait for this phone call from his brother. And the phone didn't ring. And he waited, and he waited, and it still didn't ring. And then this feeling started settling in. Okay, well, he's home, he has family around, all of our friends are there. Maybe he got distracted, maybe he went off with friends to go do some activities together. He's gotten busy, maybe he just forgot me. And he just hurt so deeply. When your feeling hurts, they can create such a deep wound, an emotional gash that's really difficult to get over. And that wound oftentimes can distort your perception into believing that the people you're thinking about don't care for you as much as you thought they did. We may feel spooked to reach out to others, believing that we can't risk the rejection that would come if we said, I really want to talk to you, and finding out maybe they weren't ready to talk to us. So we're caught in this circle, this pit of feeling lost, feeling disconnected from everything and everyone around us. Did you know chronic loneliness reduces your life expectancy by 14%? Guy equates the risks with loneliness with the risks you take in smoking. But on a package of cigarettes, you have a warning label to tell you you're taking a risk here. When you're experiencing loneliness, there's no label to tell you, hey, warning, warning, make sure you're taking care of yourself. This is the moment to do that. We may often start beginning to envision others as ghouls and goblins or witches in our minds to support the belief that they don't care. We may start looking for evidence to support our belief that there's a problem. And if you're like me, you might even cast a ruminating spell on yourself that keeps you circling and circling for days or weeks or months or even years. This only deepens that wound. And before long, an infection takes place and it spreads to the rest of your life. It's important to stop the emotional bleeding. Begin nursing yourself with compassion. We know that we have tools like meditation and affirmations and ways to get out of a rut of thinking a certain way. And Guy will tell you, just do it for 2 minutes whenever you catch yourself going down that path. 2 minutes. And as you continue to do that, it will stop the trend. Look at it in a different way. Talk to a friend. Concentrate on something else. Do something you love. By being authentic and taking off our mask and taking action, you'll build emotional resistance. We discovered over 100 years ago that having physical hygiene increased our life expectancy by 50%. What would happen if we really increased our emotional hygiene? So in Guy's story, he went to bed not sleeping, just ruminating and just feeling so horrible that he did not hear from his brother on his birthday, on their birthday. And when he woke up the next day, he turned over and realized that the phone was off the hook. And 2 seconds after he put it on the hook, it rang. And his brother was on the other side, so upset. What happened? Where were you? Your phone was busy the whole time. What's going on? We missed our birthday together. And he was just as upset as Guy was. And his brother said, he told him what happened, and his brother said, well, why didn't you call me? But isn't it easy to get stuck, feeling scared, feeling lonely, feeling upset, and forgetting that you can take action? Why unity? It supports and introduces tools and ideas to implement emotional and ultimately spiritual first aid when you're feeling scared, when you're feeling alone, when you're feeling out of sorts, improving your quality of life and sometimes saving it.
I like the idea of emotional hygiene. Like you say, we know what to do if we injure ourselves physically, and I think unity just espouses such healthy emotional hygiene. That's why we're here. And I like what Donald Curtis says in his book, The Christ-Based Teachings. He says, the answers in life come from spiritual insight, from looking within to what we call in unity the Christ, the God presence within us. And so think about it. When you follow your gut, when you follow your instincts, and when you've done so in the past, hasn't that been the path to take as opposed to outer influences, even family or cultural influences. Just follow your own truth. I think the degree to which we maintain the awareness of that Christ within us is the degree to which we control our lives and live a Christ-centered existence. And while certain functions of our being, such as breathing and our heartbeat, will go on without thinking of them, speaking for myself, maintaining a Christ awareness is not automatic. I have to work at it. I have to be mindful of it. And I must be continually mindful of it and remain mindful of it through prayer, meditation, and the other activities that we espouse in unity. We don't propose you look outside yourselves for the answers. Oh, we may be influenced by something outside of ourselves, like hopefully this talk today, right? But it only serves to draw from within you the answers that are waiting to come out. I mean, if I look outside myself for guidance, what do I do then when the answer doesn't work? Hello there, I'm Tom, I don't know where to go now. What resource do I use? What next? But when I look within for guidance, and I'm redirected, which happens kind of frequently, I don't have to ask anybody what to do. I think, okay, that didn't work. What do I want to do next? What do I want to do next? And typically, the answer comes almost immediately. Oh, I know what I want to do. Being inactive in unity sometimes just means having fun, being silly, being creative. I'll share a secret with you. I don't dress this way every day. But it's okay to have fun in church. It's okay to have fun in church. In fact, it's essential to come to church because you enjoy it, have fun, the community, not out of obligation. In unity, we know that as we follow our calling, as we follow our compass, our internal compass, the Christ within, there is no such thing as failure. There's only redirection and reassessing and just wondering where to focus our energies now. I think I'll do this. Why unity? In unity, we help you to understand the law of attraction and how it works in our lives. And you know what? It's always working, even when we're not thinking about it. It is always working. That's why mindfulness is so important for that spiritual hygiene we talk about. So this leads us to realize that, feelings or thoughts about resentment or revenge in the end will only hurt us. Not that other person, not that other organization. It's only going to hurt us. And then we'll attract more of what we're vengeful or resentful about. Law of attraction. And by saying we attract more, I don't necessarily mean more people that are there to resent or whatnot. We attract more thoughts about resentment and revenge. And then everything we see is filtered through those ideas, and we wind up in this kind of downward spiral into that rabbit hole. I speak from experience. And the more thoughts I entertain of gratitude, which opens my peripheral vision to all the possibilities, the array of what could happen, the array of opportunities, more and additional experiences of gratitude and opportunity will pour out and pour in through me. That's the law of attraction. We become what we think about. It's just that simple. So be careful what I think about. I tell myself that all the time. Be careful. And often I have to redirect my thinking. Why unity? We educate you that you not need to take responsibility to correct somebody else's actions, no matter how wrong they are. We take responsibility for ours and full responsibility for how we respond to those actions of others. Your neighbor does not have the ability to irritate you unless you allow them to irritate you. And in doing so, we create our clear boundaries. We don't try to change another. Okay, we don't try to do that. But we will express them that to us, whether what they're doing is unacceptable and has to stop. It's okay to do that. And within those well-defined boundaries exist the possibilities to attract even more of what we want in life. Because we stood our truth based on our instincts, based on our truth, based on our heart. So we attract more of what we want with those clearly defined boundaries and less of what we don't. We clearly invite you to realize that sometimes we need to say no. Sometimes we need to say, that's enough. No more of this. I love what Myrtle Fillmore says in the book Healing Letters. Do you demand of others that which you demand of yourself? Think about that. Do I demand of others that which I demand of myself? That they use good judgment and self-denial when necessary. If their mind is causing tenseness, worry, anxiety, weariness, or more, do not pray for them trying to force your idea of what they need to do. Pray for them instead that they listen to the divine presence within them.
Why unity? It's a great path to managing fear and anxiety and all the things that come up in life, all those emotional wounds that show up for us. We've got 5 really great reasons. The first one is there's only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good.
That's right.
There is only one power that made me, that flows through me, that expresses as me, and that I direct from me in every moment. And it allows me to subsequently create, not as a warlock, but as an extension of God. There is no other character, Halloween or otherwise, in the world like me. And what shows up through me is my gift to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What am I bringing through? What shows up through others is their direction of the same divine creative energy within them, and that energy that has no judgment about how they use it. This is the power of our free will. So how are you using your magic wand, your words, your actions, your power in the world, in the lives of everyone around you? Is it empowering them to do their highest good? Does it come from a place of truth and respect and kindness and maybe firmness? Number 2, the Christ Spirit lives within me. There is a still small voice within me that speaks and inspires. It originates from a calm space of clarity, a space of expanded awareness. I know I'm listening to it when the outcome that it produces in me is peace.
Mm-hmm.
It may not change anything out here, but it changes everything in here. Number 3, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. I'm in the driver's seat of my life every day, always, always, always. I have choices to make, a change like Guy chose to do, which was to put the phone back on the hook. A choice that he could have made, which was to call his brother instead of waiting for him to call. The apples of choices in front of me may all seem to be poisoned at some point, But oftentimes that choice, the choice that doesn't look very appetizing, is exactly the one I need to make. Try a 2-minute thought interrupt. Think of God, a cherished place, someone you love. Take that with you into whatever you're facing. How are you right now? Any past events holding on? Any anxious memories of things that have happened recently that you're concerned will happen again? Do you need emotional first aid? Number 4, I experience the presence and power of God through prayer and meditation. There is never a moment I am not experiencing the power of God. Never one moment. It brought me here, it woke me up, it made my body move, it made my words flow, it made my thoughts start. That's the power. But I have the opportunity to selectively focus that power on the presence, that pure presence within me, to open up to new ideas, inspiration, ways of being, just like you are doing for November 8th. How amazing is that? This power propels me forward through my actions and expression. I get to choose that. And it lessens that mental fog that is happening on a regular basis. Number 5, I put my faith into action by demonstration. I am always demonstrating where my faith is in all that I do and say. If I want to know what I'm about, I just kind of check out what I've done or what I've said recently. Why unity? Because I find the tools and the support and the magic of the power within me to transform my life and the way I experience it today and now.
You know, and I like the way unity views the Bible. I like what Alan Studebaker says in his book, Wisdom for a Lifetime. He says the Bible is an anthology of books and letters and songs and poetries and stories and regulations and on and on. And those stories and rules and regulations, they reflect the thinking of the times. Okay? We interpret the Bible metaphysically, which means we take the material and view it in terms that makes it useful for our lives in today's world. So there's a story I have no doubt you all heard about. It's in the Gospel of Matthew. It's the one of Jesus walking on the water. You've heard about that, haven't you? And this is where Peter says, Lord, he sees Jesus walking on the water. Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water, he says. Jesus puts out his hand and says, come. Peter steps out of the boat and he starts walking on water and walking toward Jesus. But then he saw the wind and he saw the waves and he was afraid and beginning to sink. He cried out, Lord, save me. And with that, Jesus immediately reaches out his hand, caught him, and says, you have little faith. Why did you doubt? You know, I wonder, did Jesus really walk on water? Did Peter really step out of the boat and walk on water? Personally, I don't believe so. See, I believe this is a story about our lives today, about trusting the divine presence within which Jesus represents in this parable. And when we trust that presence, we can do the seemingly impossible, the equivalent of walking on water in today's world. When we call on the Christ within for help, for guidance, it will spiritually reach its hand out and guide and support us. Remember, the answers come from within. It requires faith in ourselves, as I alluded to earlier, trusting our gut, believing in our own intuition. Peter believed at that moment that he could walk on water. Have you not done the same? I know you have. I have. And then did you not notice the wind and the waves and talked yourself out of the very thing you were dreaming of? I have. The answers in life come within from spiritual insight, looking and staying looking at the Christ within. And when we look within, we open the array of possibilities, the whole horizon of opportunities and possibilities that await us. And when we lose the faith, that is, when we lose just mindful focus on the Christ, on the divine presence within us, we lose that self-confidence. When we disbelieve the whisper of the divine presence within us, typically due to outer circumstances, in the parable it was the wind and the waves, those possibilities then become unattainable, but only in our minds. Because the challenges outweigh the visions when we lose sight and focus on who we really are. And then, like Peter, we sink into an ocean of doubt. So I ask you and I ask myself, are there any winds of doubt blowing in our lives today that prevent us from living the possibilities that we see before us? Are there any? Well, if there are, let's stop focusing on the challenges and go all in for the vision. Let's step out of the boat. Why unity? When you use these teachings and tools that we provide to regain your faith or remind you of your faith, your ability to listen and hear that whisper, to trust your gut, the internal hand of the Christ within will reach out and lift you again, over and over again. And once more, you'll find yourself walking on water.
In closing, why unity? Unity introduces the tools and practices and the reminders and perspectives that provide that emotional first aid for when you're feeling scared, anxious, unsure. Mm-hmm. It's relevant for today and requires no defense in explaining the positive effects it brings. People will notice. How are you today? You look different. What's happening? Something new in your life? It is self-diagnostic. You'll know when you're out of sync with your experiences and the feedback you're getting from that outside world and how that is affecting you inside. Most importantly, it empowers us to be in the driver's seat of our lives, using the divine energy we have that we've been born with to live an extraordinary and authentic life. Not that only blesses ourselves, but everyone around us. Mm-hmm. And because it's Halloween, you can bring out the great spirit within you and transform every experience in your life. Let it be so, and so it is. Namaste.
Namaste. So, dear friends, as we enter into this time of guided meditation, I invite you to simply feel incredibly supported as you are seated at home, our safe place of gathering on Sunday mornings and other times during the week. And perhaps even when we're not here, we think of the safety and the teachings that bring us peace and grace. And so I invite each of us to take a great big deep cleansing breath and inhale and exhale. Feel your shoulders drop just a bit and relax into God. Simply relax. And during this time of vibrant fall colors and Halloween costumes, even with our eyes closed, don't we see color? Take notice of what you're seeing with eyes closed in terms of color and light. Gently, if you will, move your eyes from side to side, slowly and easily. And notice the colors and the shadings as they change. And now, if you will, gently move your eyes upward and downward, nice and easy. Noticing the change in brightness and shading, and perhaps color. And lastly, let us focus intently on the back of our eyelids. Focus on them. What do you see? Perhaps waves of light? Perhaps light movement of various kinds and shading changes. What do you experience? Could this not be one of those 2-minute interruptions we spoke about earlier during MP's part of the talk. And can we not see that even in the darkness, we can see the light? What colors do you see now? Do those colors not represent the colors of our lives? The shadings that we've experienced and the brightness we've enjoyed. All with our eyes closed. And as we return our conscious awareness to this time and place and the light external to us, we may want to wiggle our fingers and wiggle our toes and open our eyes and see the beautiful array of colors outside of us too. And know that at any time throughout the day, this colorful life is ours. And so it is. Amen.